Games. Board games and seize the power, it's what I'm talking about. Board games and seize the power, I'm not gonna shout. Today I guess I'll be showing a game that I have been doing some working and designing to decide how it should be. I will explain how it came to be. I want to do more designer diaries, and this is an attempt of that from me. Seize the power, it's what I'm talking about. Seize the power, I'm not gonna shout. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are. I'm Bez, and it is 10 a.m. UK time for another Bezzy Beats and Board Game Blether. And today what's going on is Seize the Power. It's going to be a designer diary. I'm going to be doing a bit of pondering. I'm going to be doing a bit of thinking about what's going on right now, how it is, how did I change it for the Now Play This festival? Maybe I'll talk a wee bit about... I'm just going to be doing a bit of talking out loud. And so, yeah, just to set a wee bit of context, there's some rules, that's the most important thing. There's some jobs that you can do. There's revolutions, and there's housing, which is a new thing. And there's also, these are the aliens. So you play as one of these aliens, and it's a game all about discrimination. So poor de Bob only has 5 eyes and no eye stalks. I mean, if you don't have eye stalks in this world, it's kind of a fairly major source of discrimination. I mean, look at the rules. If you've got eye stalks, training costs 3 less. If you've got eye stalks, then you gain free employability because people respect you. Gain money at the start of your turn. And for every pair of hands, so of course, someone who has only 4 hands, let alone poor Finnemore, who's just a wee humanoid with 2 eyes and 2 arms, and yeah, that's not great. Anyway, yeah, I will talk about the history of the game, where it is. This is we are trying to get... I can't remember exactly when the design needs to be done, like the basic structure lockdown versus going into the contents. I think that all of it, all the design and the development needs to be finished by July. It is currently signed up by Inside the Box. And then from July until July next year, they're going to be doing the art and the promotion and all that. Fingers crossed, it will be a big Kickstarter. We'll see how it works. But yes, I'm really proud of it. And I'm hoping that other people respond well to it. Let's move on to recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights. Recent highlights, playing games and other delights. Recent highlights. I should put on my spectacles, I think. I didn't mean to put on that banner. But yes, recent highlights. What have I been doing recently? Yesterday after the stream, I was feeling, I don't know, a wee bit headachy. I ended up just spending a lot of time on the internet, on Twitter, looking up stuff on Board Game Geek, reading through a whole bunch of games. I was planning to go out. I never ended up actually doing that. Yeah, basically just, foot and ground in the house. But hey, that's okay. Sometimes it's good to take a bit of a day off. Let's talk about brilliant thing. What's a little thing which is brilliant? Yes, the brilliant thing I think that I want to talk about are games that try to make a point, because it's not... Look, you don't have to put forward an argument. It doesn't have to be the case of, hey, look, discrimination is bad. What kind of point is that? That's not exactly an argument. Discrimination exists, even though you might not be aware of it. Now, that's an argument. And sometimes you don't even need to be making an argument. Sometimes it's enough to just say, hey, this is a thing, and this is worth talking about. Good morning, Rob. It is lovely to see you. What are some of your recent highlights? And I'm just talking about brilliant things being games that try to make an argument. I mean, obviously, a wee bit self-centered, a bit caught given the topic of today's show. But I do think that there's something lovely about games like This Guilty Land and Seize the Power and Holding On and Freedom, the Underground Railroads, or yeah, um, Spirit's Island, stuff that's actually trying to do something a little bit beyond entertainment. And again, all the time I want to say entertainment is one of the most valuable things in our world. Entertainment keeps us going, entertainment feeds us, but when you're actually trying to make an argument, it's like, yes, I hope that this is fun, I hope that this is entertaining, but I also hope that this gets people talking and having discussions about things that really kind of matter. And it's all about bringing the people together. Actually, before we go into that, I want to say two quick things. So, firstly, when I was over at the Now Play This festival, we were talking about one thing that occurred to me is that the value of the games is in who gets to play them. So if a game is simple enough for people who would maybe not otherwise be engaging in that conversation, if it's simple enough for policymakers potentially, of course you've got more potential for change. If you actually want to change, if you want to make an impact, then either you've got to target the policymakers, target the people who are potentially going to become activists and push to change things, or the people who are going to write those regulations. And in this case, I think that things like discrimination, it's things where everyone, hopefully, if someone's an ally actually putting themselves out there and saying, hey, that's messed up, what you're saying, that's not cool, that's a super important thing. And so it's not enough to just have some laws or change stuff at the governmental level. It's, I want to actually provoke discussions, have people talking about this, and that's what I hope to do. Anyway, so that's my brilliant thing. If you want to comment, ask questions, from like, follow, as always, I enjoy the chat. That's why I stream. That's why I'm live. And so let's take a moment back to say, what is Seize the Power? Seize the Power. Seize the Power is a game where each player is playing the role of one of these aliens. Here is Am. It has 5 eyes currently, 6 arms. I mean, I say currently because I changed the design quite a bit, because number of eyes, it's when you've got cards that give you a benefit for every eye that you have, the number of eyes is quite critical anyway. Am has 5 eyes, eye stalks, and 6 arms. Bob has 5 eyes, no eye stalks, and 6 arms, but there's a big difference. Ento, 3 eyes on eye stalks, 4 arms, and Finnemore is the worst of the worst. And this is the worst character he can possibly get. And Finnemore is not impacted by any of the positive rules. The game is all about these rules, where if you've got eye stalks, training costs less. If you've got more eyes, you gain more money. If you've got 3 or more eyes, your rent is cheaper. Gain money for your eye stalks. Cheaper housing deposit for your arms. More employability if you've got enough eyes. Gain money for your hands. There's also a few of these, but I'm not totally confident about these rules. That's a new thing, so these triggered abilities. But generally, the point is that players control these rules. So let's say someone has 6 arms. Do they gain employability at the start of their turn? Well, it depends on whoever's controlling this card. So you could say, well, that's not only saving you money, but it's also saving you an action. That's a big deal. So maybe you want to actually just give me 5 money, and I'll make sure you get the employability, because you're still saving an action. And then it's a game of negotiation. It's a game of trying to, do things that benefit you because you get money, and money is a big resource, and with money you buy these rules, and then the rules are given around by auctions. That's been the bulk of the game since the start. Currently I'm using paper money, but that's just because it's a component from another game. How do you get money? Well, you can get jobs, so you could be an echo maker and get 4 money. Let's actually put them in the order of how difficult they are to get. Painter of diagonal lines gives 5 money. Neither of these actually have any requirements. So if you're at the start of the game, of course you're going to paint some diagonal lines, and you get bonus employability. And so this basically means that there's a massive advantage to going first, which Am always gets. Complement maker, if you already have 1 employability, starts to get 7 money. But you've got to give away 1, and then all of these jobs, once you're on the job market, you're getting more and more employability. That's what this symbol down here means. So you get bonus employability. But it was always the case that this was previously called education, but that's not quite the case. It's also employability, just because, hey, you've got a nice house. Hey, you have ice stocks. Congratulations, I want to hire you. And then unquestionable authority, take stuff for more rules. This is something that Luke and Rose from Inside the Box suggested. Rules where not only do you get money, but you have to do something. Give training to someone. That's something you can negotiate. iStock's plastic surgeon for 12 money. Unethical, ethical agent. And so there's definitely going to be a few more jobs, but this is what's I had with the festival rules. And there's always been these revolutions where you can get money if you've got the least. The one with the most rules gives away stuff, and yeah, giving away half your money. That's the revolution cards. So what's been in this game since the start? What have I changed? I don't feel like I've really answered the question of what this game is. This game has always been about the rule cards. The rule cards have always been a big part of getting stuff of winning the game, if not the way to win the game. There's always been the characters, there's always been the jobs, and the revolution I changed, and the housing I changed. So that's the second question. What did I change for the Now Play This festival? Well, firstly, I looked at all the cards and I basically rewrote everything. I retweaked the numbers. I felt like, okay, the revolutions, we weren't sure how to make them work. So I decided, hey, let's try a thing where if there's one of you, which basically means only one person who wants to do a revolution, that's kind of rubbish. So sure, you might end up having to give away 1 money, or maybe nothing happens. And maybe you take 2 money from the bank, or the one with the most rules gives away 1 money, but it's pretty ineffectual. Whereas as soon as you get 2 people as part of a revolution, the one with the most money gives away 7 to the ones with less money. Take 11 money from the bank and distribute it as you wish. The ones with the most rules give away 7 to the ones with the less rules. The ones with the least money take 7. And some of these are not totally clear, so I think that it would be good in the final game if that were easier to execute. Giving away half your money and giving away a rule. There's a lot. As soon as you get 3 people, it escalates even a bit further. And the point of the revolutions is to give the people with less money another way to come back to the game. But it's almost like a fail-safe. It's almost like saying, hey, if one person is running away with it, as long as there's enough of you, as long as everyone bands together, as long as you've got 3 people banding together against Am, if Am here has the most money, then you can be like, okay, potentially on 3 turns, you could say, okay, everyone's going to get 7 money the two people in the middle get 7 money, the person at the bottom gets 14, and Am gets nothing. The one with the most money gives away half of it, giving away more money, giving away a rule. And so that could really scupper Am in a single round. But having said that, I do think that possibly this needs to be beefed up even more. What's the point of the jobs? Honestly, the point of the jobs and everything, and again, what did I change for the festival version? So I changed the revolution thing. I think that works. I changed the rules. I simplified them. Previously, there were both positive rules and there were negative rules. So sometimes there were negative rules that said 4 or fewer eyes, you can't go to school. Back when it was called school. If you've got less than 4 arms, then you have to pay everyone 2 money on your turn. If you can't get a new job, and so all of these horrible rules, and so this is putting it all into, now there's no negative discrimination in the game, there's only positive discrimination, which is actually a really interesting thing. But I do think that the negative discrimination, I would like to bring it back, even if it's in a sort of second version. I'll get to that. I'm thinking about there being envelopes and stuff. The jobs, honestly, there kind of needed to be some sort of, I don't know what to call it. There needed to be some resources back in the day to give these rules something to do, because without employability, I couldn't have this rule. Without money, I couldn't have that rule. And without houses, I couldn't do, and so without rent, I couldn't do this. You need enough in the game for these rules to be able to tweak something, to impact something, because there needs to be an expectation that there's something you can do, a sense of normality before it gets changed. And so, boom, employability normally costs 5. Well, if you've got tie stocks, well, then you don't need to worry about it. Hey, employability normally costs 5. Well, at least you can do it for 3. And again, the jobs. Previously some of the rules were, if you've got several eye stalks, then the reason why I made it to gain employability rather than you just have a flat discount on how much employability you need for a job is that I was told that people were not spending the time training to get these really good jobs. And the jobs are really good. I mean, if you at the upper level, you're essentially getting 12 money, whereas in the middle, you're getting 7 money. So it's basically getting twice as much for one action. Maybe it should escalate even further, but people normally needed to do training in order to get these jobs, and then there's a question, is it worth it? Is it not? And I would like to make it so that at least someone is able to get it essentially for free, which is why, there's stuff about making employability cheaper, but there's also free cards. I think there are free cards. Yeah, one about arms, one about the eyes, one about the eye stalks for gaining employability. And that pushes you into getting better and better jobs. The other thing that I totally changed was there used to be another resource. There used to be energy. Back in the day, at the end of your turn, you had to pay a certain amount for food and shelter, it was called, and I think it was like 2 money for one, or you had to pay, I can't remember, it was like an escalating amount. So getting the third energy was really super expensive. And when it came to the revolutions, everyone else had to put an energy in. Now it's just a case of deciding, yes, I want to join you. I will lend you my voice. And that is a thing that people can do. Does this suffer from the lack of energy? Honestly, I'm not sure if it does, because now revolutions are more likely to happen, and it's all about the table talk. It's all about, hey, I would like to join you. Maybe would you give me some money if I'm using my action to do revolution? Would you give me one money and to and you can have revolutions which do become horrible and capitalist and corporate, and that's a really interesting thing. But fundamentally, when there's someone who's really in the lead, everyone's like, I'm going to do revolution, and then everyone else who's not in the lead says, yeah, I'm going to join you, and it's something that shakes the game up. Whoever has the most money gives away half of it. Boom, that shakes things up. Maybe it doesn't shake things up enough. I almost feel like, having played it, I feel like it should be all of the money. But, anyway, the point is that it does shake things up. And I don't think that energy was really needed here. The energy allowed, you always previously got 2 actions per turn, and the energy that you had would, every possible action would cost a certain amount of energy. So it would be like, okay, doing your jobs, it's 1 energy to this much money, or 2 energy to this much money, or no energy to this much money. And yeah, I'm not sure that that's needed at all. I don't feel like the energy was needed here. For every action costing a different amount, I think that the rules auction was 0 energy, the revolutions were 1, and doing your job was variable, getting a job was an energy. But then you have to remember, what does it cost? What do I need to spend? Now it's just, boom, everything costs an action, and you only get 1 action per turn. That's the last change that I made. I wanted people to only have 1 action per turn. Let me move these and let me show these. So these are the houses. And the way the game currently works, again, this is completely new since 2 weeks ago. So now you've got houses. Once you take it, you pay the deposit, and then you pay the rent at the end of every single turn, including the one you just got it. But you get the benefit. So if you take the University Garden Shed, you could pay the deposit, get +3 employability, and then you don't have another action. So you need to pay the rent. But then the following turn, you could get a new job. That's really good because you live in a University Garden Shed. And then maybe you won't bother paying the rent anymore because now you've got your employability. Now you've got your job. If you've got one of these, let's say you're in the cozy flat, you pay the deposit, and immediately you've got 2 actions per turn. And so you start paying the rent, but before you do that, you do something else, which might be doing a job, getting a job to get you more income next turn. And that means that as time goes on, you're going to be able to apply to more jobs, you're going to be able to do more. There are enough houses for everyone to get a place. And if we look at this, the clock tower, it costs you 11 money on the first turn, but by the end of the second turn, you're kind of neutral. By the end of your third turn, you're gaining money, and so the rent is really good. Honestly, I'm not sure which one is better between these two. I think that I'm tempted by the clock tower because that's going to net me future money, but I think that the cozy flat might actually be a wee bit better. I'm not sure. But yeah, then these, the castle with servants. So this costs 12 on your first turn, but not only do you end up paying less, but also you win any auction ties you're involved in, which can be quite a big deal. So now, rather than needing to pay the most money or winning a tie, because if there's a tie, then whoever's name starts with the earliest letter of the alphabet, going Am, de Bob, Ento, Finnemore, if someone's got the castle, then they win the auctions. But of course, the receptacle of respect, it's cheaper. It costs 13, but you're only paying 3 thereafter. but you get +3 employability. I think I would tweak that to be +2 before my next game, but it's still probably the best card. And because you're getting employability, it shoots you onto the job market. And then, like, if you look at the things that, okay, boom, painter of horizontal lines, you could get that job. And then that gives you another employability, which gets you your next job. And then suddenly you're doing the unquestionable authority or head of public relations with Earth or whatever. And I think that doing these jobs, it's interesting because it's all about getting on the job ladder. And again, what else did I change for the festival? So I tweaked the revolution style. I'm happy with that. I removed the energy. I'm happy with that. I changed it so you only get one action per turn, but houses can give you more actions, and that's adding back in a little bit of complication. But even I think it works because it's intuitive. Remembering, oh, this is 1 energy, this is 2 energy. That's not simple. Whereas, oh, that's a house. I need to pay the deposit and then I pay the rent every single turn. That makes sense intuitively. Saying, oh, this is requirement, I get this employability, that makes sense intuitively. Saying the more people there are in a revolution, the better it is, that makes sense intuitively. And that's what I want to capture, even if it isn't exactly a simulation of real life. I want it to be some sort of I would like it to be evocative of the real world and evocative of what's going on and the way that you can be cut out of the job market, the way that you can be cut out of the housing market. Oh my gosh, that's tasty. Just water. Oh, it's a minute. Wise. There we go. Now it's plugged in. So the final thing that I changed is the rules auctions. Previously, doing a rule auction was one of your actions. So you had to say there's going to be a rules auction. And then you had to be confident enough that you were going to win it. This was a kind of gamery thing to do. There was definitely a bit of pondering in, when am I going to do it? Is it the right time to do this? But then it felt weird, right? It felt too gamery. It didn't feel evocative of the theme. And hello to me, it is lovely to see you, and I hope you are generally well. Just talking about how I changed this game. And so for the Now Play This Festival, I got rid of the rules auctions. There are no more. I mean, well, there are, but 2 major changes. Firstly, they're not triggered by players. You don't have to say, I'm spending my energy, I'm spending my action doing this thing that I might not even win, but I do it when I have the most money, and so I think I'm going to win it. You don't have to do that. It's not a question of when do you pivot from generating money into buying rules. That's not a consideration. And so getting rid of that puts the focus on the negotiation, because that's what it's meant to be about. Now, everyone gets 1 turn, it goes around the table, and then from everyone's second turn, third turn, so forth, at the end of every single turn, except for the first turns, there's a rule auction. So I do my stuff, and boom, there's a new rule. Then Bob gets a new turn, boom. Ento, boom, new rule. Finnemore, boom, new rule. And these rules might be going to the same players. And you know that there's going to be an auction at the end of every single person's turn, which actually adds in a little bit more consideration, but I would say that it's slightly less upfront consideration, but there's a similar amount of almost hidden strategic complexity, because there's so much that's known. You know when the rule auctions are going to be. And as a designer, I know that after a certain number of turns, the game is definitely going to end. If the game is based around having 5 rules and then you win, that means that the game is rarely going to last more than 4 times around the table. Well, you start with 1 rule, which was a change, which is good because everyone starts with 1 rule. It shows off how they work. This is a really important thing. I think it's important that we have that. And then, so first time around, everyone's got 1 rule. Second time, even if it's perfectly distributed, the 4th time around, everyone would have 4 rules. So by the time that Am takes their 5th turn, the game is guaranteed to end. And as a designer, there's something nice about that, knowing that there's going to be, at most, you will get 4 turns, unless you're Am. And as a player, there's something nice about that, because that means that now I can think about, okay, which ones of these houses are worth whatever amount. And then that gives us something to focus the costs on, which is quite nice. And it means that there's not so much variability on how long the game lasts. And it means that there's constant more rules. Each rule is escalating because it adds more asymmetry. It adds more unfairness. It adds more discrimination. And this discrimination was in there from the start. But when Am is getting one of these, and honestly, I feel like I want to go through the rules and redo them. But yes, I might... receptacle of respect, see if I've got a little red pen and then change it. But the last thing that I changed, and this is something that might be, controversial, is I stacked the cards. The Revolution cards, they're all random. They're just shuffled together. The housing cards, they all appear at the start, so that's fine. They all appear, and then once they're gone, they're gone. With I think I wanted to have this card in the hands of someone because this is such a good card to negotiate with. For every eye, you gain 1 money. That means, okay, Am is getting 5 money. That means if I control this rule, maybe I can offer them 2 money for free and I get to take 3. And I had a game on Thursday where McCall was giving me more than half the money. And then, if we start with some rules and then later on, these ones were kind of filler, the whenever things. So let's actually go through them in order. And for some reason, 16 never printed. Whenever someone does a job, they get 2 money extra. That's actually equalizing things. And whenever someone pays a deposit for a home, you get free money. Now, this is interesting because it's about you getting free money. And so you don't need to give them anything. It's just benefiting you. Whenever someone does training, they get 5 money back. Again, this just benefits whoever got the rule. Whenever someone wins an auction, they get free money. Whenever someone gets a new job. And these whenever things are in here because I couldn't think of enough variation. So, and yeah, the Revolution card. So we've got something that reduces your rent. I only reduced the rent by 3 because that's the least that the rent could be. So I didn't want to risk the rent going below 0 and people wondering what happens. And so maybe people wondering what happens would be okay. Maybe it could be reduced again. And where's number 9? Eye stocks, gaining money at the start of your turn. So you've got something for gaining money for your eye stocks. You've got something for gaining money for your arms. You've got 3 for gaining employability. Whoops. Whether you're gaining employability for your 6 arms or your 5 eyes or your eye stocks. And that is, again, massively benefiting Am. Now, these 2 cards about the cost is... Yeah, it feels like frankly, that wants to be, the cost is free. And this, when you do it, then you get some money back. This is the housing deposit. I wanted it to be, again, free money is the least that it could be. I was worried about it being going below zero. But by making it so that all these things come out in a certain order, it did allow me to have a bit more control. And so that was nice. But I'm not sure it was totally needed here. But where it was absolutely needed was with the jobs. So previously, the way the jobs worked is there were two piles. There might have been one pile here of like easy to do jobs. I think there were actually three piles, and then you had two jobs from each. So it was like two really easy jobs, two kind of difficult, and two kind of aspirational jobs. And then you'd have like, boom, here's like something that needs nothing, or one, and hey, here, and then you'd get all these things that, why am I even looking at that? Why do I want to see this thing where I need 7 money? That's kind of just putting more information on the board, and that's not great. So yeah, with the jobs, what I did instead was to say, let's just order them by how difficult they are to get. So now, he starts off with 5 jobs on the table, and that's quite a bit. But again, you don't have to think about, you might be looking at that and thinking, well, I can't do it. If you don't have any employability, you might just be thinking, okay, it's one of these, well, I'm clearly going to do that. And it's fairly obvious because all of them do have different employability requirements. But once you're looking at it, you kind of, there's a plan. You can sort of think about, oh, that's free employability. I could work towards getting that. It's aspirational, but it's within your grasp. And then when someone takes away this, there's a new job that comes out, and it's, oh, 5 is even better. Someone takes this, and this comes out. And so with the old style, we had these decks, and then we had everyone would get some money, and it was fine. But I think with the new system of, okay, you can be locked out. So absolutely, someone could make it so that they just are in this situation. Maybe I am Ento, and then maybe there's the possibility, maybe I'm out of money. Maybe I don't have any employability. Maybe someone allows me to get one employability, but what do I do? Well, I'm kind of stuffed, and this is what the game's saying, that like, well, yeah, just by being first, Am is not just privileged by having more iStocks, but also by being first in the turn order. That is one of the biggest advantages you can have. And actually, by having fewer rules and allowing the job market to go away, that's adding more unfairness for Am, which is actually exactly what I want. And previously it was, okay, at the start of Am's turn, they reset all the things, and then they can sweep the job market, but they get the first pick of the job market. But I just want it to be, ooh, better job, and maybe there should be a couple more jobs like Echo Maker. Like maybe there should be one that just gives you free money and one employability. I don't know. And it does maybe one more thing that doesn't have any employability requirements. Maybe even 2. But, and maybe the training should come out earlier. Maybe this should be when someone's at for employability, they get a bit less money, but they give employability to someone. And there's lots of tweaks to make, but I think that overall, I am happy with this. And when I look at it, like when I think about what's wrong with this game, as it currently stands, this is the thing. Like, I'm excited to have a chat, have a meeting for 5 hours with everyone, and I'm going to try and, I will actually ask if I can possibly be in the office and do my stream from there, because that would be quite cool. And then I could, just do my stream and then boom, I'm there. But having said that, I am going to be noisy, so maybe that's inappropriate for their office. But I look at this and I think that this framework is one that I'm far happier with. So what do I want to change? I don't want it to be a game where you play it 3 times and then you're like, hey, wait a minute, as long as I get the receptacle of respect, that's it. And everything's ordered, so we know exactly what's going to come out, and there's no hidden information. I think that the hidden information is really important. And so I've been thinking, like, maybe we need more envelopes, like saying, okay, if you... And maybe the envelopes say, when something happens, you do a little tick on the envelope. So like maybe when you run out of revolution cards for one of these decks, or when there's like at least when you've done a certain number of revolutions, then you open an envelope that has a few more revolutions. Or maybe when someone complains about not being able to do a job, then you tick the little envelope. Maybe there's a job that when you get this job, it's the rubbish job. It's like beggar, free money. I don't know what to call it. Like that's poop shoots cleaner. Probably don't want to have poop jokes. Footprint wiper. Footprint wiper, that's kind of, and something like that where you get free money, and then when you do the job, you get to tick a little box. And that would be interesting, because then there's a little meta game of, hey, okay, I'm at least having some impact on future jobs. And once this has been done so many times, then you get some more jobs. And if there's more characters, I would like there to be more characters. I think that with this version of the game, where it is always less than 40 minutes, I feel like we can bring it back up to potentially 5-6 players. Let's explore that. And I think that I'm really excited. And so, that's Seize the Power. It gives you hopefully a good idea of where it is. And I'll be able to tell you potentially more if you ask me about it after Tuesday. But characters, eyes, eye stalks, arms. I do feel like, legs might be a thing. Maybe, I don't know. I feel like I would like to bring in legs, or but I'd like to chat to everyone at Inside the Box, because I think that having legs would allow you to have some stuff that just feels marginally different. So if I want to have, hey, here, gain an employability for your 5 eyes, gain an employability for eye stalks, which is these two, gain an employability for having 6 arms, which is these two. So the Bob is like really good. And then gain an employability for having 6 legs. Maybe that's only Am again, and maybe a secondary character starting with B, because you'll notice we've gone A, D, E, F. And I think that would be nice to bring in a B and a C. But yeah, I'm really excited about this. I'm really wanting to play it I'm really looking forward to playing it. And if you have any questions, then please go ahead. Otherwise, question of the day. Here's a little question for you before you go on your way. Question of the day. When's a time when you felt like things were unfair? What's something that comes to your mind? I am going to talk about a time when, yeah, it's a very small thing, just someone at a dance class not wanting to dance with me, and I assume it's like, look, it wasn't, hey, do you want to dance with me? No, that's totally fine. Maybe you don't want to dance. Maybe you don't want to, maybe you're tired. Maybe you want to step out. But it was this person, there's a rueda, everyone's swapping partners all the time. And then when I got to this individual, they said, I'm sorry, I don't want to dance with you. And I was like, oh. And then they looked at the person after me, because there was a follower who'd, in partner dancing, you've normally got the leader and the follower. And then they turned to a cis woman behind me and say, would you like to dance? And then this woman looks at me and says, did you not want to dance? And I said, yes, I did, but they didn't want to dance with me. And so the woman understands that there's been transphobia and just like does that. And so we're both sitting out of one dance, and the transphobic person is sitting out of one dance, but then gets back into it afterwards. Yeah, that made me frustrated, because why? It's not like there has to be some attraction. It's not like we were having body contact. It was literally hands on hands and a hand on a shoulder. There was nothing more than that. So are you bothered by my presence that you're not willing to do that? Yeah, that really bothered me, and it reminded me that I wasn't welcome in that space by everyone. And but when's been a time that you've seen something unfair? Let me know. Over to you. What are you up to? You can share, but only if you want to. Is there anything you want to share? I promise that I care. Please let me know. Are you going to be having a good night's sleep this morning? Are you going to are you working, or what are you up to? I am going to make sure that I get outside in the next 20 minutes. I'm going to have a wee bit of a wander. Oh, my tummy is really rumbling. I might do a bit. I think I will actually write some small notes on some of these. But yeah, I am going to be mainly doing some drawing. I'm going to be doing some drawing for a game about quickly grabbing creatures that are totally different and counting your radishes. And so wish me luck. I am looking forward to getting some stuff done. Boom, go me. That is me. Recap and wrap up before we finish up. So to recap and wrap up, this is Seize the Power. I am immensely proud of it. It's trying to be an enjoyable game to play. There's negotiation. If people like diplomacy, if people like I'm the Boss, if you like Bonanza, then you might enjoy this game. There is definitely some real world, parallels. You need to get a job, get a house, get educated, get employability, you might want to do a revolution, but it's all about these unfair rules, and that's something that's, really prevalent in the game. I would say that, yes, the changes that I made, I'm not sure that the rule deck needs to be seeded. I think that would be okay if it was random, but I think that the job deck does need to be seeded. I think that if they all had numbers, let's say you started off with this many, 1, 2, 3, let's say you started off with 8, but then in the entire game, and the more I think about it, the more I like the idea of envelopes that you open up. And maybe in the entire game, there's like 50 job cards, I don't know, and then they're numbered 1 to 50. So you start off with like numbers 2, 3, 7, 12, 12, 15, 22, 28, 34, or whatever. And the point is that there's going to be more jobs that come after, and some jobs that are in the middle. And then that means that when you're opening up new envelopes, the rule is still just you order them by the number, and then you have to order them by the number. And maybe that's okay. Maybe at some point, you get rid of certain jobs, like maybe certain jobs go into a little, like, and maybe the envelopes aren't even, I mean, I don't know if there should be that curiosity factor. I don't want it to be like, oh, what's in here? There's some big surprise. It's just, there's more of what you know. This is keeping the game fresh. Each time you play, maybe you open up something and it'll even say on the back, this is extra revolution cards. This is extra, like, I don't know any game that's got envelopes that it's saying, hey, don't use this yet. I mean, maybe Tuscany, like the viticulture where it's like lots of expansions in a box. But I really like the idea of it just saying, hey, more jobs. Once you've done this, we'll unlock more jobs. And that would be interesting, at least to me. Yeah, I'm really proud of it. I'm proud of getting rid of the energy requirements. I'm proud of the houses. I'm proud of, not proud, like, I think that it's correct. Yeah, there is a sense of pride and ego, which is not great. So hopefully, Rose and Luke will kind of be like, Bez, just because you're proud of something doesn't mean it's actually good. And that's okay. You know, not everything I'm proud of is actually a good thing. But I feel like houses are a good change. Like automatic auctions are a good change. Like no player triggered auctions are. Maybe you should be able to trigger an auction if you really want to, trigger a bonus auction. I don't know, that could be a thing. Maybe it could be a job that you do your job and there's an auction. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like the revolutions are a good thing. I feel like these numbers, you know, there's a lot to tweak, but I feel like they're broadly correct, and I'd like a lot of tweaking on them. But yeah, I'm excited to carry on working on it, and I'm really excited to see what the next few weeks, months brings. So for now, I've been Bez, and if you want to check me out, then I am Stuff by Bez in all the places, and stuffbybez.com/streams. Thank you very much, everyone who's been popping in. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Timmy. And for now, the only thing left to say is, of course, bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. And bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye-bye.